And we have some people, actually, we do have a number of people in transit this week and next coming into Arizona from Midwest. So that's happening too. Aquí viene Nora. Here comes Nora. Okay. And I think that person is going to be absent. Boom, 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 boom. Aquí vamos. Here we go. Okay. Muy pronto vamos a empezar. Really soon we're going to start. I'm just going to double check to make sure that somebody did not forget the link and that nobody is emailing me to ask for the link. Okay. That happens to me from time to time when I sadly am not keeping very good track of, oh my gosh, somebody forgot a link. Okay. And we may have a few people joining late with meetings and such. So, okay. Bueno, vamos a empezar dentro de un minuto. We're going to start in a minute here. I'm just looking to check that I don't have anybody else to button in here. No, I do not. Okay. Bueno, vamos a empezar. Y voy a empezar con there we go. Aquí vamos. Here we go. Aquí vamos. Y muy buenos días y feliz lunes, feliz día de Colón, happy Columbus Day, although in Latinoamérica no se celebra como Día de Colón, no. It is not celebrated in Latin America as Columbus Day. As a matter of fact, that's a big no-no because Columbus has kind of the reputation of the bringer of smallpox, the bringer of repression. Actually, that's a valid criticism. Yes. Yeah. Smallpox, slavery, of course, religious conversion. A lot of those wonderful things happen with Colón. Yeah. So it's really not celebrated as Columbus Day in Latino America. It is, I will put it down in chat box. El Día de la Raza. El Día de la Raza. That is how today is celebrated in Latin American countries. I've got it down in the chat box if you want to see it. Día de la Raza literally means day of the race, R-A-C-E, as in racial groups. Día de la Raza. And the reason that is designated as Columbus Day is here in Latin America, it is that they kind of take the flip side of the whole Columbus thing and say it is a celebration of all the racial mixes of people who make up the Hispanic world. So it is a celebration of especially indigenous peoples, the mestizos, the mixed race, because Spaniards married into a lot of these indigenous people. So, Hispanic world is a combination of purely indigenous, people who are purely indigenous race, mestizos, mixed race, meaning in their heritage and their background, they have intermarriage of Spanish and indigenous people. We have to throw the what we would call the African American, but in a lot of countries, there were Black people brought in as slaves. So, all these different racial groups mix in the Hispanic world. So El Día de la Raza is a celebration of all the different ethnic groups and racial groups that combine to form the Hispanic world. And that is really what they consider the proper celebration of everybody in this hemisphere. Okay. today is going to be a day where it's going to feel like kind of lots of mixed stuff because it will be. I received a number of questions, which were all some really good questions. So it's going to feel like it's kind of cobbled together because it kind of is. And I am not quite sure of how much we're going to fit together, but there were a number of questions that had come up during the week from various people. Y vale la pena, it is worth going over that. So we're going to have an intro, which is not really from your questions, but is intended as a vocabulary builder video. And then we're going to launch into a little bit of, well, yeah, actually some of the questions that came up during the week and any questions you have from reading. Okay. I hope to do a little bit of practice with dar and then the go verbs. So we'll see how much we fit in. If you need it, I don't know if you got my email this morning. Wow, that was really, really late. Y perdón, and pardon me for getting that to you very late, but I had the wonderful world of plumbing going on this weekend. In the chat, yeah, everything was late for me this weekend because plumbing. No soy fontanera, no soy plomera. I am not a plumber, and unfortunately, I got to deal with lots of leaky things. So, because I got very behind, you will see in the chat box a link. If you did not look at email this morning, because sometimes I'm just too busy and I don't get to it, that link will take you to the prompt ideas. And you really shouldn't need to like look up lots of words, but these are prompts we're going to use later. I hope today, for questions using go verbs. Okay, so if you didn't get a chance to pull that up, the link to pull up that and either print it off or pull it up on a separate file, separate screen is there. Okay, and if you don't get a chance to pull up that link, oh, nothing coming up in the chat box. Wow. Does everybody else see the chat box or no?
Nothing. I see Danita's note, but not yours.
Let's try it one more time. Wow. Oh, that's interesting. If okay, I see why it didn't happen. So let's do one more time. Zoom flipped me out. Is that now you see it, guys?
Prima, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, Zoom flipped me into different mode. I don't know why it did that. Okay. There is the link if you need that for later on. Okay, pero vamos a empezar. We're going to begin with a little reminder, and this is really good for everybody. It is kind of a beginner concept, but really can be looked on in many different levels. And then after we look at this video, we're going to do kind of a fun match it up activity, which ties into that whole word wall platform. So, okay, vamos a ver aquí este video, and you may have to retune your ear. Is he Aussie? I think this gentleman is Aussie, and therefore you're going to be adjusting to a different English accent as well as his Spanish. But it is a great video about cognates and how we can use cognates and what is a cognate and what are false cognates and all that fun stuff. And then we'll do a little pairing activity with that. Okay, vamos a empezar. We're going to begin here, and I'm not going to put up, yeah, we don't need any translations.
About the Spanish language is the mile-long list of words you already know. These words are known as English to Spanish cognates, and they're fantastic because these words look the same and they mean the same thing in both English and Spanish. If your first language is English and you're learning Spanish, you have a huge advantage because there are thousands of these words. In this video, you're going to learn what a cognate is, how you can use them to start communicating in Spanish quickly, how to predict where you are likely to find Spanish cognates, and some of the most common errors that occur with these words. If you've just started learning Spanish or you've been learning for a while and you want to learn how to grow your vocabulary quickly, then keep watching. Vamos. So let's start with a definition. What is a cognate? Strictly speaking, in terms of the linguistic definition, cognates are words that share a common etymological origin. This means that if there's a word in Spanish and a word in English that can both be traced back to, say, a word in Latin, for example, then they are cognates. Let's look at a quick example. The English word miracle and the Spanish word milagro can both be traced back to the Latin word miraculum. This means that the English word miracle and the Spanish word milagro are cognates. Now, while miracle and milagro are technically cognates, it is very difficult to guess the word milagro from the English word miracle without having studied it already.
Okay, and that's because that G letter comes in. You know, there are funky little letters that change with this cognate thing. Sometimes we share a word, but Spanish may switch in a letter that is not the same as what we use in English. So that's why milagro, I do consider a cognate, but you may not recognize it because the G, milagro, miracle, the G and the few different letters at the end of that word kind of make it a little harder.
For contrast, let's look at another example. If we take the English word much and the Spanish word mucho, we can see that mucho comes from the Latin word multus, whereas the English word much can be traced back to the Proto-Germanic word mikilas. So while these two words, much and mucho, look very similar and can be translated between English and Spanish in a number of contexts, they're not technically cognates. So with this in mind, for this video, we're going to stray a little bit from the strict linguistic definition of the word cognate because the etymology is sometimes helpful and sometimes not. So instead, we're going to define two terms: perfect cognates and near perfect cognates. So firstly, perfect cognates are words that are spelt the same and mean exactly the same thing between English and Spanish. And the good news is there are hundreds of these words. For example, animal in English is animal in Spanish. Now, the most important thing when it comes to Spanish pronunciation is getting the vowels right. I covered this recently in another video, the 10 must-know Spanish words and phrases for beginners. I'll leave a link below in the description. But for a quick recap, the Spanish vowels are a, e, I, o, u. A, e, I, o, u. And the critical thing whenever you're pronouncing a word in Spanish is making sure that these vowels are incredibly consistent within words and between words. So let's have a look at a few more examples of some perfect cognates. Chocolate in English is chocolate in Spanish. Doctor in English becomes doctor in Spanish. Normal in English becomes normal in Spanish. Similar in English becomes similar in Spanish. Now I've just picked a handful of perfect Spanish cognates for you to see how they behave, but I've also put together an article with a big long list for you to practice with. I'll leave a link below in the description. Next, let's look at near perfect cognates. Near perfect cognates are, as the name suggests, almost exactly the same between Spanish and English, but maybe with just a few letters difference in terms of the spelling. Now, the great thing about near perfect cognates is that there are a lot of patterns that emerge with these words. And once you've seen the pattern, it makes predicting these words really easy.
So the patterns he's talking about is this whole concept of, wow, what you learned in 3rd and 4th grade, prefixes and suffixes. Yeah. But especially the suffixes. Suffixes are little like particles, little pieces. They're not a whole word by themselves, right? But they're little things we stick on to the end of a word. And a lot of suffixes in English are predictable, but a lot of suffixes in Spanish are also predictable. And they will indicate, oh, this word is an adjective, a word that describes, or this word is an adverb, something that tells how something is being done, okay? So think suffixes, the little endings we stick on the end of a word, because they're going to help us predict some of these cognates.
For instance, whenever you find an English word that ends in the letters IC, then in Spanish, the equivalent word will end in ICO. So for example, the English word basic becomes básico. Now notice this word has the accent above the A. This just means that this is where you need to put the stress on the word. So it's básico and not necessarily básico or básico. And what you'll notice is with all of these IC near perfect cognates, the accent goes on the syllable just before the ICO. So here are some more examples. Artistic becomes artístico. Another example, comic becomes cómico. And of course, the pattern continues. So can you guess what the words in Spanish are going to be for these English words? Medic, plastic, public, organic, romantic. Pause the video and have another guess.
Okay, what do you think they're going to be? Fácil.
Medico.
Médico, plástico, público,
Publico.
orgánico,
Organico.
romántico.
Okay, all these get accent marks. Why? Because ICO, eco. The rule is when you've got, when the last letter of a word is a vowel, and in eco, the vowel is O, or it might be ica, the vowel is A. When the last letter is a vowel, the second to last syllable normally is what we stress. But in all of these, we are not stressing the E sound of eco. We're not. And because we're breaking that rule, literally we are breaking that rule, these eco words get an accent mark because the accent mark shows, oh, we're breaking the rule. It's not going to be eco. It's going to be something, boom, eco, boom, eco. We need to put an accent mark to show where we do punch or give more emphasis, which syllable we are actually stressing when we break that rule. So an accent mark in most senses, in most cases, not 100%, but in most cases, tells us we're breaking a stress rule. And here is the syllable you stress instead of what you expect, instead of what is the normal rule. Okay, so this is why we see accent marks most of the time.
In Spanish, these words are médico, plástico, público, orgánico, and romántico.
And you see that we've got all accents. That accent mark shows where we stress because it should be eco, but it's not. And because the way we pronounce it breaks that rule of stress the second to last syllable, we show where the stress goes instead. Okay? Entienden? For like, I'm going to say 80 or 90% of the time that we have an accent mark. That's why accent marks happen. Accent marks don't make a vowel sound different. You know, in French, an accent mark can make a vowel make a different sound. In Spanish, the accent mark doesn't make a different sound for that vowel. It just tells you which syllable to say with more stress or more emphasis. That's all it does. Okay. And in this case, it tells you we are breaking the normal stress rule, which is ends in a vowel, stressed to second to last. Oh, we're not stressing second to last. Here's what we punch harder instead.
In the next category of near perfect cognates, we have English words that end in CT. These become words that end in CTO in Spanish. So for example, act becomes acto, correct becomes correcto, exact, can you guess? Exacto, insect, insecto, perfect, perfecto. In the next category of near perfect cognates, we have English words that end in IOUS.
And this one, I think, is one of the most useful rules. IOUS in English. Sometimes just OUS, but IOUS. Okay.
It becomes Spanish words that end in IOSO. So for example, we have curious, which becomes curioso, delicious, which becomes delicioso, precious, which becomes precioso, and religious, which becomes religioso. The next category of near perfect cognates is the biggest category of them all, and that's words that end in shon in English. These all
Okay, and the other thing to know is that most of these shun words are going to be feminine. These are going to be not descriptions, but things, nouns. Okay, so
become words that end in sion in Spanish. So let's see some examples. Application becomes aplicación. Celebration becomes celebración. Information becomes información. Motivation becomes motivación. And pronunciation becomes pronunciación. Of course, there are many categories of near perfect English to Spanish cognates. I've just provided a few categories in this video to get you started thinking about how these words behave. Of course, I'll leave a link below in the description to that article I was referring to with lots more examples. In addition, when you're thinking about English to Spanish cognates, once you can see some of these rules, it will allow you to express yourself very accurately in Spanish, even if you are a beginner. So for example, one thing we can do with these cognates is we can combine them with the Spanish word es, es, which means it is in English. So for example, es perfecto, es curioso, es fantástico, no es normal, es correcto, no es similar, es popular. Now, while this is a fantastic topic and learning about Spanish cognates is wonderful because it will allow you to express yourself with a lot of words you already know from English with just a few minor changes, there are certain words that look like they should mean the same thing between English and Spanish, but it turns out they mean something completely different. These are known as false cognates. So let's look at a few examples. Probably the most famous is the Spanish word embarazada. This looks like it means embarrassed, but it actually means pregnant. Another example, decepción. Now this looks like it means deception, but it actually means disappointment.
yeah, so these don't really, I can't tell you how that happens except with embarazada. It has to do with really barriga. This part of your anatomy, your belly area, is that BAR thing relates really to the belly area. So embarazada means you got something in your belly. Well, yeah, okay. But decepción, yeah, disappointment. You can maybe see how that happens.
Another example, emocionado. This looks like it means emotional, but emocionado actually means excited. So your next step is to look for that big long list of English to Spanish cognates and start practicing your pronunciation. See if you can find some perfect cognates and near perfect cognates, and then try to incorporate them in your next interaction in Spanish. See if you can use some of these words, getting used to using them in a sentence. Now,
okay, and I'm going to stop it there. I am going to try to download his list too. I mean, you can find these lists. Sometimes they are more helpful, these lists, than other. You know, these lists could go on and on and on, but we're going to kind of apply this idea. You do always have to be careful of false cognates, but well, you kind of learn those as you go along. I do want to point out three things, and they're the three E words as false cognates. Embarazada, pregnant, because you never want to say you're pregnant when you're not. One of my good friends announced this when she was a 15-year-old exchange student to her family that she was living with. And they thought, oh my God, we have to take care of a pregnant girl. When in fact, she was not pregnant at all. But, she just meant she was embarrassed, like that she had arrived late or something. It was like, that was an uncomfortable silence. Okay. What's the next E word? Emocionada, and embarazada. I only put in feminine because, yeah. Okay, that's got to be describing a woman. Okay. The next E word, emocionado. I've got it in the chat box. Excited, not emotional. Okay, excited, emocionado. And we're going to take one more. Ooh. I'm going to check one quick thing here. Perdón. Sí. Okay, I'm not even going to put the definition here. Excitado looks like excited. It's not. And that's even worse than using embarazado, I will tell you, even worse. Don't ever use this word to say excited, because that is not what it means. Excitado means horny. And this will be even more embarrassing than misusing embarazada. Excitado will get you a big eye-popping reaction. Never say estoy excitada. I am very horny to somebody. Never use that with estar. It would be used with estar. So grammatically you're right, but that is probably not what you want to say to your next door neighbor. Yeah. Or some random person. No, you're watching a parade. I'm very horny. No. So the 3 E words. The middle one, you don't have to avoid, emocionado, if you really mean you're excited. But yeah, that last one, please avoid it. Okay. Game. But there are lots of cognates. And there are a lot of times when even this kind of cognate rule can be quite helpful in building vocabulary. A lot of times you'll be able to guess when somebody uses a word because of this cognate rule, or get pretty close. And, when you're working on the fly, flying by the seat of your pants in a live conversation, sometimes you got to fly by the seat of your pants. That's all you can do. Okay. Let's see if we can match up. We're going to use this word wall thing to match up. And I don't know if I can send you guys the link for this or not. Vamos a ver, we will see. If I can send you the link for this, I will try to, as people who don't have an account, I don't know if it will allow me to send you a link. But let's see how many of these you can match up. Ooh. Momentito. Okay. I got tabs on top of tabs. Okay. There, here we go. There are all kinds of different exercises with these word walls. So we'll talk a little bit after this about, how you found that experience. So they tell you drag and drop. Drag and drop means you click on something and drag it over and then let it go. It's going to pop in. And if you're not real used to using a computer, that may be a little more challenging. But let's take a look. Oh, let's look at matching things up. And we're going to match up some cognates here. Okay. And think of those suffixes that you just heard. And there are more than the suffixes he gave us, but let's go for like the obvious. So check out the words a la izquierda, on the left. y a la derecha on the right. And let's find like the most obvious pairs up. Work from the most obvious, maybe to the least obvious. Let's find something very, what you think is going to be super obvious from this left side.
Intelligent. Intelligent.
Okay, exacto. So I've got to click on that and pop it into the box. Okay, vale. Now I'm not going to submit answers yet because I've got a bunch of blank spaces, right? Inteligente, inteligente. And here's why he reviewed what are the pronunciation rules, because your brain is going to want to say it as inteligente, inteligente, and you think you're doing great because you've got the gente thing in there, but you really want that E sound, right? We don't say intelligent, no. Intelligent, but inteligente. So yeah, getting that pronunciation into the Spanish mode is really important because it'll make it easier for other native speakers to understand you more easily. Okay, inteligente. La segunda palabra, second word here that is really super obvio, super obvious.
Artistic.
Reserved.
Artistico.
Bien. Artístico, we're going to match up. Athletic, no, artístico. That could go into a feminine form, artística. Could end in an O, could end in an A. How about another one? Otro.
Reservado.
Reservado, where are we going to pair that in?
Reserved.
Reserved or shy. Now there are two words for shy. Reservado, reserved. Also tímido. Tímido looks like timid. But if you're shy, yeah, you're kind of timid socially, maybe, yeah. Timid has different connotations in English. But tímido is also used for shy, just so that you know, tímido, and it looks like timid. Okay, otro, another one.
Talentoso.
Oop.
Talentoso. Talented.
Talentoso is a super obvious one. Es super obvio, talentoso. Muy bien, otro.
Sociable.
Sociable, muy obvio, sociable. Ok, otro muy obvio. Paciente, muy obvio. Paciente, a ver, let's see, paciente, patient. Ok, otro muy obvio. Serio would match up with serious, serio. Bien. Ok, otro muy obvio.
Estudioso.
Estudioso. Studious. Bien. Estudioso. You know that estudiar means to study. And notice words in English that are ST or SP. ST and SP for the start of any word in Spanish has to become EST or ESP. Estupendo, estudioso, español.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, when Spanish speakers, no matter how good they are at English, when they say Spanish, it almost always comes out Spanish. You'll almost always hear a little E in front of it because it is almost impossible for them to turn off that Spanish part of their brain that does ESP, EST, estudioso. Okay, otro obvio, another obvious one. Impaciente. Wow, we even use I am. Right? Impaciente, impatient. Okay. And now some of these may not be strictly cognates, but there's still going to be things we can guess at if we know a base word somewhere. Well, maybe with one exception.
Trabajador.
Translates into what?
hardworking.
Hardworking. Now, this is not a cognate, but you can figure out that trabajador means hardworking because we know that word trabajar, to work. Okay, so when you know a base word, trabajar, but now I've got a suffix on the end, trabajador. Dor either gives a quality or it makes that a person. Trabajador can also mean a worker, someone who does that action of trabajar. So trabajador can really have two meanings. It can mean a person who works, el trabajador, los trabajadores, the workers. Maybe you've got a landscaping crew who is out working on a site, los trabajadores. Okay, any working crew, the people in that crew can be called trabajadores, workers. But trabajador as an adjective can mean someone who does that a lot. They're hardworking. Okay, los
Yes.
otros.
Desordenado.
Desordenado.
Desordenado. Where does that mean?
Disorganized.
Disorganized.
Messy.
We have a prefix, and now we see a prefix.
Desordenado.
Des is a negative kind of prefix. It means not.
Yes.
Just like disorganized.
Desordenado.
Okay? Dis in English as a prefix carries the same negative connotation as des as a prefix
Yes,
in
okay,
Spanish.
yes.
Okay? But-
Ordenado would be organized.
Oh, and therefore, yes, therefore, when we take away the des prefix and we got ordenado, it means ordered, in order, in place, organized, neat. They also have another word, organizado, organized,
Mhm.
desorganizado are
Disorganized.
synonyms,
Negatives.
right? They are words you can use interchangeably. Ordenado, organized, organizado, also organized, neat. Desordenado, messy, messed up, disorganized, or desorganizado. Yeah. Okay, bien. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nos quedan 5. We've got 5 left.
Bueno.
Deportista is athletic.
Bueno is gonna be a gimme. Okay, ahora 4.
Deportista.
Perezoso.
Okay, let's look at deportista.
Deportista.
If you know that
Athletic.
deportes,
Sports.
Athletic.
Athletic.
yeah, with what you're given. Now, I'm gonna give you 2 things. The ista, I would have put we could have said for athletic, atléticos, because we don't have TH, atlético. Atlético also means athletic, atlético. Deportista can mean athletic. Deportista can also mean a person who plays sports.
Mhm.
So this DOR that I told you it can mean a person who does it. This ista often means a person who does it. So deportista also means an athlete, a person who does sports. Okay.
Is that an A? Can that be an O if it's male, or is it?
Buena
always an
pregunta. Really good question. This ista always has to be ista. Oh, you look at it and you think it's a feminine word. Ista is always ista. And it never changes that A into an O. Not ever.
Like barista. We see that
Yeah.
in Starbucks.
Yeah, Starbucks barista. Right, exacto, exactly. I don't know if Italian does the same thing. It might be, because I think all the Starbucks stuff comes in from Italian. But
Oh.
yeah, ista is always ista. So it's el artista, el pianista, el dentista.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ista is always ista, always. And we cannot change the a at the end into an o. So para que sepan, so you know, that's kind of an odd tidbit, yeah? Ista is always ista. We might say la deportista if it's a lady soccer player, or el deportista if it's a male soccer player, okay? So that is both a description, athletic. It is also a person who does sports. Professionally, or, you know, even kids on the field on a team. Okay, tres más, tres más, tres más. We got three more.
Simpático.
Simpático, nice.
Simpático is nice. And wow, that looks a little like sympathetic. Well, a nice person is sympathetic. But yeah, simpático means nice as in just all around swell person. Okay, it is a much stronger expression of that idea, nice. Nice has become a rather bland description. Simpático is not at all bland. Simpático is very much a compliment. It means you are a deep to the core good person. Okay, we got two things left.
Gracioso is funny.
Gracioso is funny. There are many, many translations for funny. Cómico. Cómico is the one they give every 14-year-old coming into Spanish class. Cómico because it looks like comical. And people are, oh, funny. But really, gracioso, I think, is much, much, much more common. Gracioso is what you generally hear much more than cómico. Gracioso is funny. It looks, ooh, this looks a little like gracious, doesn't it? Does not mean gracious. Gracioso, funny. Well, we've only got one thing left.
Yeah.
And that is not really a cognate, is it? But it shows you that, yeah. So when you work with matching, always go from the most obvious, el obvio, the obvious. Go with that first, right? And then when we're done, we submit all of our answers, and it will give you the ding, 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 ding to show you where it's right and where it isn't. If you hit the submit, if you hit the submit button too fast, and of course it gave us a really horrible time, but that's okay because we had explanations, and then you can start over again. So just to kind of show you one of the uses of that word wall, es muy útil. That is really, really super useful. I will see if I can get you the link to go and do that again. That is a shared link, and I don't know if it will allow me to give you that to do it one more time. Vamos a ver. We'll see if it does. Okay.
Una
Bien.
pregunta.
Sí,
por
sí,
favor.
sí.
The OSO endings, though, those can change. Male.
Those can change.
Okay, OSO.
Those most definitely can change. Absolutely. Okay. Bien. So we're going to work into something a little different. This is coming out, well, bien. Okay, I'm going to stop first. Hay preguntas. Any questions on those, that little thing on cognates? I'm going to get you some lists of cognates. It'll be helpful because they do help you to build vocabulary. Now, the thing to watch with those cognates is that you don't pronounce it like English, right? Pronounce it like Spanish. So that's the thing to focus on. Then?
Bien.
Okay. Okay. And the one outlier in that really is kind of that ista suffix. It's got to stay ista. It will not flip-flop between masculine and feminine, the ista word. Okay. Yeah. In this vein, we had a question come up, which is a really, really good question. It is a good question. It's going to expand a little bit. And the question came up via Duolingo, but vale la pena. This is really worth exploring today. What's the difference between mucho and mucha? And wait a minute. I'll give you the context of this in the chat box. Well, wait a minute. Let's start here. Let's start actually not in the chat box. Let's start with a whiteboard. Okay. And this question comes up for a super good reason. There was a little drill done by someone in Duolingo where it said, this came up as a sentence. Oops, perdón. Me gusta mucho la cerveza. I like beer a lot. Okay. And the question was, wait a minute. Isn't mucho talking about cerveza? And shouldn't it really be mucha? Shouldn't it be?
Me gusta.
Me gusta mucha la cerveza. No, it is not that. Okay, wait a minute, wait a minute. This must violate. They must be wrong. This must be violating really big time that thing. Wait a minute. Mucha, here's the little clue. That first one is correct. Me gusta mucho la cerveza. Me gusta mucho la cerveza. Because mucho is, yes, okay, in a roundabout way, it is surely talking about beer, but it's talking about what you like. When we use mucho, talking about a verb, it's going to stay mucho. Por ejemplo, otro ejemplo, I'm going to clarify with this. Camino mucho con mi esposo. I walk a lot with my husband. Camino mucho con mi esposo. Mucho is talking about I walk. So it stays mucho. It's talking about the action. Otro ejemplo. Cuando hace mucho calor, when it's really hot outside, literally when it makes heat outdoors, because that's the phrase we have to use. Cuando hace mucho calor, tomo mucho agua. Oh, perdón. Tomo just leave it. Tomo mucho. Or maybe we might say bebo mucho. I drink a lot. Okay? I drink a lot. And just not referring to the thing, but I drink a lot. When we talk about doing something a lot, it's just mucho. But,
Okay.
yeah, but mucho can go into many forms. Mucho, mucha, muchos, muchas. So you have to kind of watch out for that, okay? And this kind of opens a big can of worms, but it's a good can of worms because we want to see what the differences are in these words. The question usually comes up as what's the difference between mucho and muy? And muy. Okay, that's usually how the question comes up. But this question made sense because that whole thing of me gusta mucho la cerveza, what you're saying is beer pleases me very much. But you're not talking about the quantity of beer. Mucha cerveza would be lots of beer. So let's take a look at, let's go back to the cerveza thing. Tomo. Whoop. My keypad is getting in the way here. Mucha cerveza. There's a big difference between this. In that first sentence, me gusta mucho la cerveza. I like beer a lot. It's talking about the activity of liking or this thing being pleasing. And when I attach that word mucho to a verb, I keep it mucho. Tomo mucha cerveza. Now I'm saying I drink a lot of beer. And mucho is a lot of a thing. When mucha, when I am attaching it to a noun to say a lot of this thing, a quantity of this thing, then it will go into a feminine form.
Okay,
So,
that's helpful.
¿entiendes? Understand that?
Yeah.
Y
no.
bien, pregunta, another question?
Pregunta, if I wanted to say I really like to drink a lot of beer, would it be me gusta mucho mucha cerveza?
That would not be something we would usually combine.
Okay.
Por ejemplo, con frecuencia, or as an alternative, muchas veces, meaning many times. Bebo mucha cerveza. Now that you might hear. Often I drink a lot of beer. But when you say a lot of the time, there are of course many ways you might say that. Con frecuencia, with frequency, or muchas veces, many times, a lot, often, bebo mucha cerveza. I drink a lot of beer. So we'll have to, kind of tweak the words we use with that. See, bien? We are going to take a look at, this kind of spurred the question of, pardon, I need to unshare this now. Vamos. Okay. This kind of brings up this question of when do I use mucho or mucha, or when do I use muy? Okay, and we've got a great little video that is going to talk about that as well. A ver, so let's take a look at that. Boom, 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 boom. ¿Dónde está? ¿Dónde está? Where did it disappear to? Aquí está. Here it is. Pueden ver. Can you see the video now? Or no?
And I still see the
No.
whiteboard.
Okay, I still see this whiteboard. Let's try to get there we go. Wow, I couldn't get my command to come up. That was unhelpful. Okay, so let's try this again. Otra vez, otra vez. So let's take a quick look at this. Vale la pena. This is worth it. Whoops. Let's try una vez más. Let's try one more time. Oh, why will I not get rid of my thing? Okay. Now can you see? Can you see the video? See or no?
Still the whiteboard.
Wow, why will it not get rid of it? Okay. Oh, I see why. No, it was not Zoom's fault, as I wanted to make it Zoom's fault, but it was not. Now, ahora pueden ver. Now you can see. Okay, muy bien. Bueno, this is a very good lesson. And usually this question comes up because people say, I don't know when to use muy and when to use mucho. So we are going to take a look at that today. And then we're going to go into some of our practice. Okay, bien.
¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? Soy Paula from Speak Spanish with Paula. And if you're new here, welcome. Don't forget to subscribe and to hit the notification bell. Today, we're going to learn how to use muy and mucho in Spanish. What's the difference between both?
And notice how she says Spanish.
Oh, yeah.
Listen to that again. Almost every time. And her English is wonderful, but this is just for all the time I hear this. Okay. Yeah.
The general rule says that muy is equivalent of very in English, and mucho is equivalent of a lot or a lot of. But you know there are exceptions everywhere in Spanish. So let's go deep into both and to see the difference. Muy, it's used for describing a quality, characteristic, or the way that something is done. It answers the questions how, in what way, in what extent, or even where is something related to something else. And the good news is that there's only one word, muy. No plural, no masculine, no feminine. Just
Yay! You don't ever change that word muy. It stays just the way it is all the time.
muy. For instance, if I say, ella es muy inteligente. Ella es muy inteligente. I'm describing how is she, cómo es ella.
¿Cómo es ella? And that's the thing that's hard for us. ¿Cómo es ella? How is she? Meaning, what is she like? What we really use in English. What is she like? But like doesn't mean I like lollipops, I like ice cream. It's the other like. What is she like? In Spanish, we express that with ¿cómo es? ¿Cómo es? How is she or how is he? Meaning, list me the characteristics of this person, be they physical or personality.
Describing a quality of her. Ella es muy inteligente. If I say, yo hablo español muy rápido. Yo hablo español muy rápido. In this case, I'm describing in what way I speak Spanish. De qué manera hablo español. In what way? I speak very fast. Yo hablo español muy rápido. Okay? And when I told you that sometimes it answers the question, where is something related to something else, it's because I could say, el parque está muy lejos. El parque está muy lejos. Where is the park related to where I am?
And the lejos means far away. Okay? Está, location, muy lejos, very far. Not just far, very far.
Muy lejos, right? So where?
So it's answering how far? Muy lejos, very far.
El parque está muy lejos. La tienda está muy cerca. La tienda está muy cerca.
Nearby. La tienda está muy cerca, really close by, very near to us. Cerca is near or close to something. Okay? Yeah?
So where is the store related to where I am? Okay? It's very close. La tienda está muy cerca. Okay? So for describing qualities or the way something is done, or even for telling where is something related to something else. Muy cerca, muy lejos, muy bien, muy mal, muy rápido, muy lento, muy inteligente, muy grande, muy pequeño, muy bonita, muy guapo, right? All those things describe qualities, characteristics, or the way that something is done. Let's take a look to another example. Él
Okay, so That is a really, really great, one of the best explanations of muy. Okay. It's an intensifier. Okay, it's an intensifier, really. And we use it with descriptions or where something is. Okay, so we can attach muy to adverbs and adjectives. Adverbs and adjectives. Adverbs are the how,
Okay.
right? Adjectives are the quality, description words. Okay, they're not things, they're description words. So now here's a clue. We use muy with descriptions, right? Of some kind.
Es muy rico.
Rico.
Él es muy rico.
It's very rich.
Here, I'm describing a quality of him. Él es muy rico. He's very rich. He's wealthy, right? But if I say, él tiene mucho dinero, él tiene mucho dinero, I'm also describing, all right? So mucho, it's also used for describing, but not a quality, but a quantity.
And there's the clue. Mucho describes a quantity, an amount. And it's saying the amount is a big one. Okay? So it gives a quantity, an amount.
A quantity. In this case, the quantity of money, right? Mucho dinero. So for describing quantity of things, of objects, of nouns, and when I say quantity, it's because we could have a non-countable noun or a countable noun. That's why the word has to match in number with the thing, with the object, with the noun. So we have the plural and we have the singular. And because everything in Spanish gets a gender, it also has to match whether the thing is feminine or masculine. So we have mucho, mucha, muchos, muchas. If I say, hay muchas playas en el Caribe, hay muchas playas en el Caribe, I'm not describing the beaches. I'm not describing cómo son las playas, but the quantity, how many there are, right? Hay muchas playas en el Caribe. What about hace mucho frío? Hace mucho frío. Hace mucho frío en este cuarto. I'm describing something, but I'm describing kind of the quantity of coldness, right? And frío is not countable. That's why mucho. You cannot count the coldness, right? The same happened with water. You cannot count water itself. So we could say, bebo mucha agua en el día. Yo bebo mucha agua en el día. But I could also say, bebo muchos vasos de agua en el día. Bebo muchos vasos de agua en el día. In the first one, it's non-countable. Bebo mucha agua. But in the second one, I'm describing the quantity of glasses of water. So it's countable. 1 glass, 2 glasses, right? Un vaso, dos vasos. Bebo muchos vasos de agua en el día. Now let's take a look to these two sentences. Juan habla muy rápido. Juan habla muy rápido. And the second one, Juan habla mucho. Juan habla mucho.
And this second one is like the me gusta mucho la cerveza.
Mm.
Exactly the same thing. We are really applying the mucho to an action. And because actions, verbs, do not fall into the masculine and feminine category, it just stays in that generic one, mucho form. Okay, so muy rápido, very fast. Fast is how he talks. It's a description. It's muy rápido. But habla mucho, he talks a lot. He talks a lot. Okay, we're talking about the quantity of the action of speaking.
In the first one, I'm describing in what way Juan speaks. De qué manera Juan habla. Juan habla muy rápido. In what way? Fast. Muy rápido. In the second one, I'm describing kind of the quantity. How much Juan speaks. Juan habla mucho. He speaks and speaks and speaks and he doesn't stop. Él habla y habla y habla y no para. Juan habla mucho. Is that clear? I hope so. Now let me show you another example.
So does that make sense to you? Yeah?
Sí.
When we're just pairing mucho up with an activity. Camino mucho con mi esposo. Okay? Limpio mucho en la cocina. I clean a lot in the kitchen. I'm talking about the cleaning. It's just mucho, right?
Okay.
But if I say, I clean a lot of dishes, limpio or lavo muchos platos. Now, I'm talking about dishes, how many dishes, how many stacks. Lavo muchos platos, limpio mucho en la cocina. I clean a lot in the kitchen, meaning I do that activity a whole bunch of times, okay, with great frequency. But lavo muchos platos, I clean many dishes, I could stack those dishes up. Does that make sense?
Sí.
See, claro, okay. This is one of those things that is really good for both advanced people, more advanced people or kind of mid-level people and beginner people, because we need to know that mucho, sometimes we'll talk about an action, but mucho goes into all, when it talks only about an action, it stays mucho. When it talks about a verb, but when mucho is used to talk about a quantity of things, okay, like platos, plates, muchos platos, like programas, muchos programas, many programs, like libros, muchos libros, like niñas, little girls, muchas niñas, lots of little girls, okay? So when it's talking about a noun, it goes into all the various forms. When it's talking about a verb that you do that action a lot, it stays mucho.
Tengo mucha hambre.
Tengo mucha hambre. Hambre is a feminine thing. You can't really tell by looking at that word. It ends in an e, hambre, hambre. Hambre means literally not hungry, not really. Hambre means hunger. It is a noun. So that whole phrase, tengo mucha hambre, I have much hunger. We don't express it that way in English, but they do in Spanish. And because mucha is talking about a noun, hambre, it has to go into the feminine form. Hambre is a feminine concept.
Tengo mucha hambre. I'm very hungry. But remember that in Spanish we use the verb tener for describing those sensations. Physical states, mental states. Tengo mucha hambre. And once again, why am I using mucha? I'm not describing a quality. I'm describing kind of the quantity, right? ¿Cuánta hambre tengo? Tengo mucha hambre, ¿ok? Tengo mucha hambre. Voy a comer mucha comida. Y quiero que la comida esté muy rica.
Okay. I'm very hungry. I'm going to eat a lot of food. Mucha comida. Comida, noun, food. Mucha comida. quiero que la comida esté muy rica. Don't worry about the esté. It's a subjunctive, but I want the food to be very yummy. I want the food to be very delicious. Here, rica does not mean rich, but delicious. I want it to be very yummy, very tasty, very delicious. Muy rica. ¿Ok? Bien.
Tengo mucha hambre. Voy a comer mucha comida. Y quiero que la comida esté muy rica. In this last sentence, I'm describing the quality of the food that I want. How I want the food to be. ¿Cómo quiero que esté la comida? Quiero que la comida esté muy rica. Okay? Another way to use mucho is for emphasizing how much you like something. So with the verb gustar. Me gustan mucho los gatos.
Here you go. With liking something a lot. Yeah.
Me gustan
It's
mucho
talking about
los
the
gatos.
verb.
Me gusta mucho la comida mexicana. Me gusta mucho la comida mexicana. Me gusta mucho salir a caminar.
I like going out to walk.
Me gusta mucho salir a caminar. We also use mucho when we want to compare. For instance, I could say, mi hermano es más alto que yo. Mi hermano es más alto que yo. But if the difference is too big, I could say, mi hermano es mucho más alto que yo. Mi hermano es mucho más alto que yo. Even though I'm describing him, I'm describing how my brother is, I'm comparing my brother with me. Okay?
Okay, and I'm going to stop it there because I don't want you to get into the weeds of comparisons quite yet. That is a harder topic. Es algo más difícil. Okay, bien? Does that answer that question? Okay. And I'm going to answer your leg question, Nora, in a separate email. Okay, bien? Vale?
Bien.
Okay, I think that is kind of worth checking out. Bien, and I will give you the link to that video so you can kind of check that out again. Okay, a ver, I want to ask a real quick question. I'm not going to revisit this a lot, but a real quick question about, a lot of you went and did the word wall activity using dar. And I kind of made a note of which things were harder and which things were easier. Here we go. Let's take a look at that again. Did most of you like using that word wall where you rearranged words into the right and picked
Sí.
out the right? See?
I like that.
See?
Yeah.
Bien. Okay, we will use that some more. So I'm just gonna maybe review a couple of these. So you see how it worked again. So there are many different kinds of activities I will probably give you links to in using this, and they're all slightly different, but remember, some of them are drag and drop. So when you see these links, because some people are more comfortable with computer exercises than that. When it says drag and drop, it means you need to click on the item and pop it into the box, not just click on the item. So I'm going to show this, because at first I thought, oh, this should be obvious, but then as I kind of looked at it, it's like, oh, it may not be obvious to people. So when you get exercises like this, okay, it's not enough to just click on the box. When it says drag and drop, you need to really click on it and drop it. And the clue here, you had to choose from which form of dar made sense, right? Doy, dan, das, damos, da. And first of all, we notice, who's this person talking to? They're talking to
Me.
mom.
Mom.
Mom. So they're saying, Mom, will you give me? It should not be a yo verb. right? This may means giving to me. So if you're talking to mom, which is the you give that makes sense for talking to mom?
Da.
Yeah.
Da.
Da.
Or das.
Das. Me das. Okay.
But could it be either one, da or das?
Well, okay. Qué buena pregunta. What a good question. So here's what happens. There might be a regional thing coming into play. There are some regions of some areas where people actually use usted with family members. Like some people I know in Colombia, in some areas of Colombia, actually use usted with family members. Even in some regions in Mexico, there are some people who use usted with family members, which is kind of like, wait a minute, didn't I learn that tú is for family, and people you address by their first name, and usually that is the case. But there are some regional variations. So depending on where you are, some people may use da if they address their mama as usted. But in most regions, the more natural thing will be das. Tú, tú, okay? Mamá, me das un poco de dinero hoy, okay? If I want to see if I've got it right, I can submit that and then I get a ding if it's right. Oh, okay. So in this one, you want to, when we did the matching, we don't submit really necessarily till we're done with all of them. With this one, you submit each one. Señor Suarez. So right away, a clue. Am I using first name?
No.
No.
I'm addressing him formally. No tengo su carro nuevo hoy. Oh, I don't have your new car today. El carro llega en un mes. The car is arriving in a month. Oh gosh, yes. It's not here yet. He ordered a car. He's in that semiconductor delay. El carro llega en un mes. The car's coming in, it gets here in a month. Gracias, señor Garcia. I'll give you my phone number so you can call me in a month. I'll give.
Da.
Boy,
Le doy. And
Oh.
now a question also came up. Well, le, do I also need an phrase? With le, I often get an phrase tagged on, no matter, often.
Usted.
Because le can mean a usted, le can mean a Jose, le could mean a Maria, le can mean a mi amigo, le can mean many different people. So to make sure we clarify, we often tag on an phrase to name that person we're referring to with the le. We just often do. Okay, bien, it's gonna pop me into the next one. Tres. Mamá y papá. I got mom and dad, mom and dad, mom and dad. Me dan ustedes, and they probably won't say the ustedes, but me dan ustedes la llave del carro esta noche. Will you give me the car key tonight? Ask him for the car. Bueno, Jose. Okay, Jose. Now, if he's saying, hey, mom and dad, will you give you the car? It's not just I'm giving you the car. It's
They are.
ooh,
Done.
this one was hard. If the question is, are you guys giving me the car?
Damos. el
Probably
carro.
this is the answer. We'll give you the car. So this one is tough. Legitimately hard. Will you guys give me the car? Okay. Yes, we'll give you the car. Mom and dad become yes, we'll do that because it's mom and dad. That was a hard one. Papa Noel. Oh, Santa Claus. Papa Noel. And look, los buenos niños, two good little kids. The les is defined further, pegged down further. Les can mean lots of groups of people. It can mean any group of people that is plural. Giving to them. Who's them? Oh, them is the good little kids.
Done.
But who's giving?
Papa Noel.
Papa
Papa
Noel.
Noel.
Yes,
Papa
God.
Well,
Yeah.
He's
Ah,
one guy.
Wow.
Oh, so this could be hard. The verb doesn't match up with the les. The les tells who's being given, but it doesn't tell who's doing. Okay. Los bancos, banks. Banks give you pesos. Banks is more than one entity. So what verb makes sense here?
Done.
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 Okay,
Done.
most people got this right. Los bancos te dan pesos. Banks, they give you. Ah, see. Okay, and then we launched into all of the various idioms, which I'm not going to head into yet today. Okay, bien, vale?
Vale.
Bien, okay. So just kind of a little review because we'll do more of these. Gracias, thank you. My phone is going off because I have the dentist this week.
da
Gracias,
mucho.
Maria. Thank you. My daughter's answering my phone for me. Okay. Bueno, I did not get through as much as I had hoped to get through. We're getting close to the deadline here. Pero, entienden, you get the general idea, right? See?
Sí.
Bien? Okay.
Yes.
I don't think I'm gonna get to my first thing. Okay. Bien, 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 bien. I gotta kind of work off the seat of my pants for a bit. Here's what we are going to do. I want you to have some time to work off of some practice, one with the other. We're going to take a look at, ¿dónde está? I'm going to give you actually a different set of questions. And you may need to do a little copying here, but that's okay. I'm going to do a little bit of breakout room session. So you may want to jot these down. May want to jot these down. We're going to take a look at these. And these won't be too, it's only 5 questions. I'm going to put people into some small groups for the end here, but I'm going to do different questions. Well, no, maybe not. Maybe we'll take the same questions. I will go in with the newbie folks. We're going to talk about ¿qué vas a hacer? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And you're going to plug in a different kind of activity. Okay. And the activity can be anything, but where I've got things underlined, you need to take that word out and plug in a totally different idea. Okay. Yeah. So, and I'm actually going to try to push this out into the breakout rooms as well. And I'm hoping if you got your Zoom updated that this will work, but if it doesn't, you'll have a copy of it. ¿Qué vas a hacer? ¿Qué vas a hacer? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And you're just going to talk about what you're going to do. Okay. We're going to talk about near future. Okay. And that means we are pairing up 2 verbs. Pairing up 2 verbs. And we're going to talk about what I'm going to do or what we're going to do. And we're going to do this in little breakout groups to practice some conversation. Bien. ¿Qué vas a hacer esta noche? What are you going to do tonight? So, por ejemplo, I'm going to. ¿Qué vas a hacer? What are you going to do? Voy a caminar. I'm going to walk. Voy a estudiar. I'm going to study. Voy a ver la televisión. I'm going to watch TV. It can be anything, but you need to plug in that second verb as an infinitive. Entienden? Understand? See? And I'll be going in with the newbie people to make sure they've got that straight. Okay. ¿Qué vas a hacer mañana? What are you going to do tomorrow? Not tonight, but tomorrow. ¿Qué va a hacer tu familia el sábado? What is your family going to do Saturday? ¿Qué van a comer ustedes hoy? What are you guys gonna eat today? And now we're gonna need a vamos in our answer. Vamos a comer. And we need a thing. Bien. ¿Qué vas a comprar en el supermercado? Voy a comprar. Bien. And I'm going to just kind of reinforce this. And I know you've done this once before, but I want people to kind of get a natural swing with this. And then I'm going to, when I'm done with these, when we come on back, I'm going to go in with the newbie folks. We're going to actually give you as homework some irregular yos to work on for next week that we're all going to work on together. And you'll get 1 or 2 videos to watch on that, and some of the prompts actually that I had sent out, but we'll do some different prompts too. We'll have probably 2 prompts. Okay, está bien? Do you have these down? I'm going to push this out. I'm going to put this into the breakout rooms as well. I am hoping that's going to work. Bien? Okay, está bien. Let's give you some breakout rooms. Uy, a ver. And I'm going to sign this manually. This is going to take me just a couple of minutes. I'm going to try to get this right with my newbie people all in the right group together. Momentito. Okay. Oops. Okay, I think I've got everybody in there, and open it up, and newbie folks, I'll begin with you en un momentito. Okay, bien. Vale. I've got you guys in, and wow, I don't know if you can see. I'm trying to see I'm not sure that feature worked yet with breakout. Can you see the questions or not?
They were on, but they are not now.
They are not now. I wonder if that's because I joined. They were on. Let me ask you a question. Is it okay for me to leave you guys to talk using these? Or do you have a question about them? I'm going to try to. I wonder if my going in took that away. Do you need them? Let me ask it this way. Do you need the questions, or can you work off of what we've got?
Work off what we have.
Okay, bien. Let's take a look. ¿Qué vas a hacer esta noche? What are you going to do tonight? So I want you to practice with the voy a and doing something. ¿Qué vas a hacer? What are you going to do?
Voy a leer.
Vas a leer. Ok, bien.
Voy a caminar con mi esposo en el parque.
Excelente. Bueno, ¿en qué parque? ¿En qué parque?
Mezcal Parque.
Ah, bien. Ok, vale, magnífico. ¿Qué vas a hacer esta noche? Roger, do you have an idea? ¿Qué vas a hacer? What are you going to do? Oh, and I think you're on mute, so you'll have to take yourself off of mute.
Voy a gimnasio.
Ah, okay. ¿Vas a hacer ejercicio? Are you going to do exercise?
Sí.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do, voy al gimnasio is a fine answer, but if you're gonna, if I ask, what are you gonna do? Voy a hacer ejercicio. I'm going to do exercise. We're gonna use voy, little word a, and a new activity. Voy
Oh,
a hacer.
Hacer.
Hacer ejercicio. Voy a hacer ejercicio. We could make it more specific. Voy a levantar pesos. I'm going to lift weights. Voy a levantar pesos. We could make it more specific if you're going to be on a treadmill. Voy a correr. We could make it more specific if you're going to get on a cycling machine. Voy a montar en bicicleta. Bien? Okay. ¿Qué vas a hacer mañana? What are you going to do tomorrow?
Okay, I'm gonna give it a try. Voy al supermercado a comprar fruta.
Okay. So let's flip it so that we've got the comprar frutas right next to the voy a. Okay. So word order, this is going to make a little more sense. Voy a comprar
Fruta.
frutas en el supermercado.
Okay.
So it'll be a little easier for the listener if you match up that activity right after the voy a comprar frutas. I'm going to buy fruit.
Okay.
And then tell where. En el supermercado, en la frutería, you know, wherever it may be. Bien?
Okay. Yep.
Bien. Okay. Vale, magnífico. ¿Qué vas a hacer mañana?
Voy a ver a mi amiga a la café.
Voy a ver a mi amiga para tomar café.
Sí.
¿Sí? Voy a ver a mi amiga. I'm going to see. Ver, sí. Voy a ver a mi amiga para tomar café. In order to do this. Para is in order to. Para tomar café. Bien? Okay. Or you could say that as voy a tomar café. Voy a tomar café con mi amiga.
Oh.
Bien. So there are two ways you could kind of build that together. Okay. Roger, do you want to try one? ¿Qué vas a hacer mañana?
Voy a beber.
Beber.
And then I don't know the word for water.
Agua. Agua.
Agua, yeah, that's right.
Agua. Muy
Okay.
importante. Voy a beber agua. Voy a beber agua. Magnífico. ¿Qué va a hacer tu familia el sábado? What is your family going to do on Saturday? And so we're going to start with this. Mi familia va a. My family is going to. Mi familia va a. Por ejemplo, mi familia va a montar en bicicleta el sábado. My family is going to ride a bike on Saturday. Mi familia va a lavar el carro el sábado. My family is going to wash the car on Saturday. Bien? Okay. Una idea. An idea here? ¿Qué va a hacer tu familia? My family is going to. Mi familia va a.
Okay.
Mi familia va a trabajar en el jardín.
Va a trabajar en el jardín. Gonna work in the garden. Bien, or work in the yard. Sí, magnífico. Mary.
Mi familia va al zoo. I think it's zoo. El sábado.
Okay. Let's say my family is going to go. Mi familia va a ir.
Okay.
Va a ir, going to go. Because our focus is going to be going to do. Va a ir. We're using ir twice because you're going to go. Right?
Okay.
Va a ir. So try to build that little sentence for me, Mary, one more time.
So, mi familia va
A ir
ir al zoo,
al
al
zoo.
sabado.
Al
Okay.
zoológico. Al zoológico. Al zoo. Al zoo. Al zoo. Short for zoológico. Zoológico is zoo. Okay,
Okay.
bien. Roger,
Okay.
¿qué va a hacer tu familia?
I don't think my vocabulary is good enough. I was going
I'll help you out.
my yeah, mi familia va a tener and then I couldn't think of let's see, lunch. How's that?
Okay.
Lunch. I don't-
Va a tener, and probably we're going to put in tomar because of the focus is really that you're going to be eating,
Oh.
right? Va a tomar el almuerzo. Va a tomar
Va a tomar.
el almuerzo.
Oh, I
El
couldn't-
almuerzo. Almuerzo is lunch. Almuerzo.
almuerzo.
Almuerzo, perfecto. Almuerzo. Va a tomar el almuerzo. Bien. Ok. Dos más. Two more. ¿Qué van a comer ustedes hoy? What are you guys going to eat? So when I ask a you guys question, we get a we answer. A you guys question. ¿Qué van a comer ustedes? All of you guys. Vamos a comer. Okay. Vamos a comer enchiladas hoy. Vamos a comer enchiladas hoy. Bien? Okay. Somebody else take a turn. What are you guys going to eat? ¿Qué van a comer ustedes?
Van a comer bisteca y papas.
Vamos a comer bistec y papas. Steak and potatoes.
Van a
Bien.
comer.
Bien. Vamos a comer. We're going to eat. Okay. Otra idea.
Comimos pollo hoy.
Comemos
So we are
pollo hoy.
eating
We're
chicken
eating chicken today. And you can answer it with that different verb if you want to. You can answer it with comemos pollo hoy or vamos a comer. Vamos a comer is going to mean the same thing as comemos in this sense. We can say it either way. They're both
Okay.
correct. Okay?
Okay.
Vamos a comer or comemos. We will be
Okay.
eating. Perfecto. Roger, do you have a thing that we're going to eat?
Well, fish, but I don't know the word for it.
I'll give it to you. Pescado.
Vamos a
Pescado.
comer pescado.
Perfecto. Vamos a comer pescado. Vamos a comer pescado. Bien, ¿ok? Uno más, one more. Que vas a comprar en el supermercado esta semana, this week. Esta semana, this week. Que vas a comprar en el supermercado. Que vas a comprar en el supermercado. Voy a comprar una calabaza. Calabaza es a pumpkin. Voy a comprar una calabaza. Calabaza. En el supermercado. Voy a comprar una calabaza. Bien. Somebody else take a turn with that one.
Voy a comprar tequila y limones y sal.
Bien. Me gusta mucho. Fantástico. Me gusta mucho. Ok, bien. Otra idea. Another idea.
Okay.
Milk?
I'm gonna give it a try.
Coffee?
Voy a comprar, well, that's what I was gonna say, el café.
El café. Voy a comprar café. Voy a comprar café.
So
Bien.
no el café, just.
Probably not
café.
el. No. Voy a comprar café because you're going to buy some coffee. And do you buy one coffee bean? Probably not. Yeah.
Okay.
I would say, voy a comprar una bolsa, a bag. If you buy it in a bag, then we will use the una. Voy a comprar una bolsa, because then it would be one quantity of this bag. But if it's
Okay.
just coffee in general, it'll be café.
Okay.
Bien. Vale, magnífico. Otra idea. Roger, got another idea for me?
And voy a comprar, and then I don't, what's the word for berries again? 'Cause
Ooh, that depends on which berries it is. If it's
yeah, and then, right.
yeah, arándanos,
red ones are the blue
arándanos. Blueberries, arándanos.
Yeah.
Arándanos. Hard one. Fresas, strawberries. I think because of the scarcity of certain kinds of berries, they use this very general arándanos word for all kinds of blackberries, blueberries, cranberries. I know, arándanos. But fresas, strawberries, that one is a specific, I guess, because they're more common. Okay, bien.
Sí.
I'm going to get out of this one. We're going to take a look at, I'll be going back. I'll be closing down all the rooms in a moment. Okay. Bien. I'm going to close down all those rooms. Some of you are back. That's fine. Oh, it popped me into your room.
Yep, we're gonna leave.
Oh, okay. Bien. I am going to, oh, wow, it popped me out it popped me into only one room. I do not know why it did that. That was curious. I'm going to close down all the rooms. We're going to do a lesson on go verbs, just so you know, para que sepan. So I'm going to hope to close it all down and put everybody back into the big room. Wow, I wonder why it popped me into one room. I got some funny glitches going on. Okay. Bien, bien, bien. We're going to get everybody back. Okay, ooh, we got a few more coming in. I'm just going to really, really briefly preview. We kind of got a little bit, didn't get to every single thing I wanted to look at today, but that's okay, because we've got 2 more sessions and we'll tie everything up in the last 2 sessions. Okay, aquí vienen todos. Here comes everybody else. A ver, we had a couple people who had to leave because I took us over late. Perdón. I am so sorry. I am going to preview real quickly with you. We did not get to everything I wanted to revisit this whole DOI thing a lot, but we're going to tie this in because we had a lot of questions coming up. We had to look at all that. I'm probably going to create a little extra thing for you to work with DAR. A little extra thing to do during the week. And I'm going to send you this video. It will look like this guy here, present tense, go yo. Because oddly enough, it is going to tie into dar. It's going to tie in because certain verbs are irregular just in the yo forms. And those of you who are brand new newbies, I asked you to check out that chapter that had 3 irregular verbs, and it had saber and conocer. Certain verbs are irregular only in yo in the present tense. And in generally we call them go verbs, but they won't all be goes. Some of them will just be irregular for yo and they won't have a go, but a lot of them have goes. So I'm going to send that particular item out to you, that video, because it's a really useful thing for us to practice. And we're going to largely take a look at those kind of like building in new vocabulary with verbs to talk about things that we do very frequently. Okay, ¿está bien?
Está bien.
And that is going to be our main emphasis. And, you know, keep reading and keep doing the Duolingo and all of that. We've got 2 more sessions on this A side of the fall session, and there'll be a B side, meaning it'll be fall session, but for November and December. And that's a separate set of classes. So we're going to try to emphasize more of these kind of like broadening our verb use with a lot of these lists of verbs, different kind of verbs to talk about things we do. Bien?
Bien.
Magnífico. Okay. Nos vemos el lunes. I'll see you guys.